And Times now accesses mysterious transactions from Sushant Singh Rajput's bank accounts of rupees 2.63 crores that were transferred out to his two chartered accountants between May last year till April 2020. Also, Sushant's fixed deposits, which he kept in his sister's name, were slashed to less than half. The family of Sushant now allege that all of this was done at the behest of Rhea, who manipulated Sushant. Let's go across to our reporters who are joining us live. With us live at this moment is Priyank. We also have with us Vajula and Kajal joining us live. Priyank, this is a very, very serious allegation that the family has been making right from day one. It's part of the FIR, the fact that money was siphoned off. That's the allegation that they're making, at least as far as Rhea is concerned. And now they claim that the bank transactions clearly prove all of that.
Yes, certainly, Madhav. The spending pattern clearly shows that something was not okay in the life of Sushant Singh Rajput. Initially, a person who used to do these kind of fixed deposit for his sister, that portion of money was diverted to some other end. Obviously, Sushant was not keeping a tab on whatever the bank transaction was happening because he was a busy artist. He would have been busy in the creative work. It was the job of the managers as well as those people who were given the responsibility to take care of the funding, from where it's coming, where it has to go to Shruti Modi and Rhea Chakraborty, as well as Rhea's brother Shoubhik, who is right now being questioned at this Enforcement Directorate office right here in the city of Mumbai. So if you look at the spending pattern, the money which was supposed to go to the family member, the real family members of Sushant, was not going there. On the other side, Rhea Chakraborty was investing the money in the different businesses, as well as the money was also used to purchase property in Mumbai. A person who had a bank ITR of 14 lakh rupee suddenly started spending 22 lakh rupee. So these detailed transaction analysis was very minutely done by the family member, because the family members were the beneficiary of the account of Sushant Singh Rajput. That's how they managed to get into these kind of detail. And the similar detail has also been shared with the Enforcement Directorate, which is right now questioning Shoubhik that why this kind of spending pattern was happening, whether you were given on return responsibility or authority to use the bank account of Sushant Singh Rajput is the biggest thing for which the Enforcement Directorate is looking at. And on the other side, Madhav, the CBI will look into the other lying aspect of the investigation, because many people have not been telling the truth. Like you saw in the news how Patani came for initially 30 minutes, he was saying something else, then he changed his statement. So that aspect will be looked into by the Central Bureau of Investigation in their own part of investigation.
Well, very, very significant there, really, what the CBI is going to do from here on. Let me also bring this across to Kajal Iyer, who's also live with us. Kajal, this is something that is very serious and raises some serious questions about whether the family's allegations of Rhea in some way, manipulating either Sushant or those around him to try and benefit as far as the money is concerned. Those allegations of the family somewhere are borne out by what appears to be taking place as far as the transactions are concerned.
Those transactions are the key to this, because this is the main allegation of the family, that Rhea had been meddling in the finances of Sushant Singh Rajput, and she had actually been taking the money away from him. So far, the bank account statements had only shown lifestyle expenses in the name of Rhea, but this particular revelation about the fixed deposits is something worth pondering over, and the ED will of course look into it, and they will, as Priyank pointed out, go through the ITR and everything minutely to see whether or not any of these purchases, these large purchases, could have been made by the family themselves. So all of this is in the purview of the investigation, and as Bhavtosh had already reported, on Monday the father has again been called, because the defense from Rhea's side is that it was a father who took a loan of 60 lakhs to buy that particular flat, and so his ITR also will now become important. The entire family's IT returns will be scrutinized, and the ED will try to find out if everything was above board or not, because Sushant's family alleges that nothing was above board.
Well, very, very serious allegations there. And Vajula has been tracking the enforcement directorate. Vajula, you were there when Rhea Chakraborty, her family members and her associates, including the manager, CA, etc., were there before the ED. They had given their depositions. Clearly, this is going to be something that the enforcement directorate too would have asked Rhea Chakraborty about.
Well, the line of questioning of the Enforcement Directorate is basically on the financial aspect of it. As we know that the father had filed an FIR in Bihar, which was then picked up by the Enforcement Directorate, and now the CBI also is looking into it. And in that FIR, he clearly mentioned about this financial angle, about the 15 crores, and also about how Rhea was financially exploiting them. Now, the Enforcement Directorate is questioning them on the line of what were the financial exchanges that Rhea and Sushant Singh were having. What was the involvement of the brother? Why did Rhea leave the company 1.5 months after she was the co-director of that company? About her ITR, about the purchases that she has done, about what her income was and what was her expenditure. All this will put into together, and then they will decide, and then it will help the Enforcement Directorate to actually come about with the entire angle of finance which the father and the family has been alleging. So that is what is happening right now. And as Priyank also mentioned, that Shoubhik Chakraborty is inside as of now, and his questioning is going on, and Siddharth Pithani was supposed to be here for the questioning, has not come as of now, and it's highly doubtful that he will be coming here today, but on Monday we'll have the father coming here again, and he will be again questioned regarding the properties that they had purchased, where he had already mentioned that he had paid close to 60 lakhs and other 25 lakhs he had taken as from his FD. So all these things will be questioned all over again. Their financial details will be taken. There will be a questionnaire that they will be given, and as of now all of them have been separately questioned. We will now have to see when will the ED question them all together, and what will happen with regards to the intervention of CBI when the CBI comes in, and what all and when the matter goes into court. As we all know that the court had asked the three parties, that is Bihar, Bombay Police and the ED, to file their reports and give them the idea of what is their investigation given them so far. So that will be looked into Monday, and we'll have to see what...
All right, Vajula. All eyes certainly on the courts and what transpires on Monday. I'd like to thank all three of you for joining us, Vajula as well as Kajal and Priyank. Let's also now go across to Mr. Vikas Singh, who is the lawyer for the family of Sushant Singh Rajput, joining us live. Mr. Singh, thanks so much for joining us here on Times Now. Let me begin by asking you, as far as the allegations that the family has been making all along, now this particular aspect of the deposit that was made with the sister of Sushant Singh Rajput, the fact that this was halved, clearly now somewhere or the other the family's charge that money was either siphoned off or diverted, somewhere or the other there is now a proof of that can be seen.
Well, as far as the family is concerned, the family was not at all concerned with his, finances. And if Sushant had been alive, probably we would never have even thought of where this money has gone. But now that Sushant has died, and we definitely feel that he has died because of her, because of Rhea, then all this becomes very, very important and very crucial. And under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which is, which ED exercises jurisdiction over that, the money which is supposed to be proceeds of crime, that proceeds of crime, wherever it is invested or wherever you try to legitimize that proceed of crime, that is liable to be attached by the ED. And that can be also forfeited. And ultimately, if it is forfeited, then it is given back to the family who is the rightful owner of that money or that property. So these proceedings that the ED has started is basically in that direction, because now that Sushant Singh has died and his family definitely feels that it is abetment to suicide as of now, if there is something more serious coming up and it turns out to be murder, will not change the players involved in the murder, because it will be again the same players for murder as well, because the Sushant's, the close circle of Sushant was managed by Rhea. She had changed all the staff, and these people who were living with Sushant were people engaged by Rhea, and she was in constant touch with him. Even when she had blocked this phone with Sushant, I believe she was in touch with the other persons at the residence. So that really proves that there was something very, very fishy going on at the house between Rhea and the others in the house. And unfortunately, the Mumbai police has, not done any proper investigation. They are just doing an inquest, which is more in the form of an inquiry with regard to the cause of death, which normally should have been completed within 24 hours. But they are just stretching that inquest into something, hoping that, people will forget about Sushant Singh Rajput and they can slowly give a burial to this whole case.
Right. Mr.
But
Vikas
unfortunately, the family will not let it go, and the fans of his will also not let it go.
Certainly. Now, if I can just ask you, Mr. Vikas Singh, is there anything else? The family would have, of course, as a next of kin, received all of those banking details. Are there any other transactions apart from this which you would have perhaps perused as far as the banking statements are concerned, which also corroborates this claim or this concern that perhaps money was being siphoned off?
Well, I'll tell you honestly, before Rhea came into the life of Sushant, Priyanka used to, help Sushant with his finances a little bit, and she also used to coordinate with the chartered accountant. But as you all know, Rhea created a huge rift between Sushant and Priyanka, because she realized that Priyanka is, controlling a lot of things around Sushant, his ecosystem. So she didn't want any interference in that. So she created a huge rift, and she could convince Sushant about whatever she was alleging, and because of which Rhea, that difference arose between the brother and the sister. And then when Rhea came into the picture and took over the entire, finance, etc., the angle of this entire management of Sushant Singh Rajput, then she also changed the chartered accountant. So the family really doesn't know anything of what all Rhea has done and how, the account has been operated. So it is only if a proper investigation is done, which we hope will be done by the CBI as well as by the ED, that this money, this angle will come, and how the money trail has, been used to benefit Rhea and the family, and, make Sushant poorer by that money trail. That will all surface. So I believe there are a lot of cash transactions, there is daily withdrawal in the account. So all that the family as of now is not aware about.
So the call detailed records also of Rhea, in fact, have, of course, we've been reporting that you would have also seen there are a lot of suspect or curious anomalies in the call detailed records, where she's not talking to Sushant, several days before his death. And she is, of course, seen making several calls to the manager following the death of Sushant Rajput. Over and above that, there's also another aspect of a property that was registered in the name of Rhea that we've broken here. Of course, the version of Rhea's scam is that this is a transaction that took place much before Rhea even met Sushant Singh Rajput. Do you see, or do you feel that this is also something that investigators should take up?
Absolutely, because ultimately she may have booked something earlier. I don't know what is the exact date of booking of that particular property. But if the installments have gone later, and her income tax returns do not, justify that kind of investment, and also, she has not done anything great in this period with Sushant, except for, taking control of Sushant, and his finances. So I don't see her being able to justify whatever she has, bought or invested in during the time when she was with Sushant. So all this will really very, easily come out once the investigation starts in the proper direction. And I'm quite hopeful that on this coming Tuesday, the Supreme Court will give a go-ahead to the CBI, and ED has already started the probe. So both these agencies in tandem with each other can easily get to the bottom of anything in this country. And the CBI has put up a very good crack team to, investigate this matter.
All right, Mr. Vikas Singh.
Is quite hopeful that they will get justice soon.
Well, all eyes really on the court and what will transpire in the apex court, sir. We will certainly also be covering all those developments. I'd like to thank you for joining us, Mr. Vikas Singh. He is, of course, a lawyer of Sushant Singh Rajput's family. Also with us are Neeti Jain, spokesperson of the BJP, and Swapnil Kothari, lawyer. Also with us is Sundar Balakrishnan, political analyst. Before I come across to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, we have to slip into a quick break, but we'll continue with this discussion in just a few moments. Stay with us.